Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, I was the IDWHL and I feel like an idiot. Yesterday I ordered breakfast for takeout. When I pulled into the curbside spot, there was a sign that said to call and someone would bring my order out. Since I was in a hurry, I thought this would be convenient, so I called. At the same time, I got a text saying my order was ready. I waited about 5 minutes and no one had come out, so I decided to save the worker a trip and just got and pick it up. Note: I am never ever rude to workers unless they're rude to me first, and in this case, no one was directly rude, but they weren't helpful either. I walked in and went to the takeout counter and waited a few minutes, but no one came. There is another counter before that where the hostess stands, and there was a girl in a pair of khakis and a red polo standing behind the counter. That was the restaurant's uniform, and she was behind the counter. At that moment I saw a table with carry-out orders and mine was there. It was already paid for, so I grabbed the bag. At this point, I was frustrated because I waited outside, and no one came, and then inside without anyone helping me. As I was leaving, I said to the girl, "You know, it would help if your team was available when customers come to pick up their orders." She looked at me and said, "Ma'am, I don't work here." I immediately felt awful. I apologized profusely and said I mistook her for an employee because she was wearing a similar outfit and behind the counter. She didn't seem amused and just said that she was back there because there was a stool and she wanted to sit down. I laughed and told her she really fooled me. She then moved the stool and said I wasn't the first person to say something to her, but it made her never want to work there because the staff didn't seem to be helping anyone. I still feel awful that I was that person. The next one is titled, Lady Followed Me Through Big Box Store. It's a short story, but me and my friends still giggle a little to it. The store employees wore a blue shirt and usually like khaki pants. This day I had on a pink blouse and some dress pants. I got off of work early and wanted to stop and grocery shop a little before the crowds came. This elderly lady asked me a question about the difference in some crackers. Biggest mistake I made that day. She said she couldn't have a lot of salt and started talking to me about her blood pressure. I listened a little to be polite and started to slowly walk away as she didn't have her mask covering her nose, and I didn't want the Rona. When she noticed me trying to get away from her, she started to ask me questions about another product. I said, ma'am, you may want to get an actual employee to help you, I'm shopping. She asked, are you not an employee? I was so confused because again I had on a pink blouse. I said, no I don't ma'am, but I'm sure you could find someone that does. Then she asks, so why did you help me? I didn't even respond and kept going on about my business. She was in one of those motorized scooters. She went into the next aisle still asking if I didn't work here, why I would help her with the crackers. I just kept ignoring her. I have kids. Ignoring and drowning people out is my specialty. She then saw a worker and said, I kid you not, this lady is pretending to be an employee. That's when I turned around and yelled, I do not work here. Damn it. The employee and the old lady stared at me for a good 5 seconds before I explained to the employee that she was asking for assistance in the sodium levels in some wheat crackers and I helped her, that's all. The employee looked confused, and she didn't know what to say, when finally, the old lady said, well, you should have said that. I just walked off and shook my head. I was tired and honestly didn't have it in me to argue. The next one is titled, The Closed Sign Doesn't Lie. I grew up in a very touristy ski town. After college I moved to a similar town a couple hours away. Several friends from college decided to move to my hometown after graduation, so every time I go home, I stop by and see them. My buddy works for a local distillery as their retail manager. They have 2 different locations, one where the liquor is made, kind of like a brewery-type restaurant, just outside the town, and another small shop on Main Street with samples and product. People trickle through all day to take some free shots. Honestly, the shop functions more to market the liquor than for sales. Anyways, I go drop in just as my friend and her co-worker are closing. While we're chatting, they flipped around the closed sign, locked the doors and turned off the lights. They went to take the trash out in the alley behind the shop and said they would be back in a few minutes. Moments after they left, a group of tourists approached the door. They glanced at the closed sign and then up at me, then back to the sign, getting visibly confused. They start knocking on the window, so I point to the sign and shake my head. They shake their heads back and point at the doorknob, implying they want in. Now, the lock to the door requires a key, so I can't open it to talk to them, nor did I really want to. I work in the service industry, so if I'm not in uniform I can't be bothered. I tried to yell through the door that it was closed, but obviously they didn't get the message and they just got increasingly mad that I wouldn't let them in. After a very uncomfortable amount of time, my friend came back and had to spend another 5 minutes talking to them, basically convincing them, yes, we are indeed closed despite you wanting to buy something. One thing I've learned in this last year is that it doesn't matter how much signage you have, plenty of people will either think they're an exception to the rule or just willfully ignore the rules. It's wild. I wonder if I ever do it without noticing. The next one is titled, Dealing with Scam Calls, Please Call the Cops on Me. Like most of us with a landline, cheaper than TV, internet in my Northeast US region, don't judge, I was getting a ton of spam calls. All about my car warranty, which I never had purchased, my wife's student loans, who never went to college, IRS collections, energy sales, etc. You name it they called. Well, we decided to start picking up and harassing the scammers. Big mistake. They don't take you off their call lists, instead they start to spoof your number so that your number shows on caller ID for everyone they call. It got so bad that we changed our VM from, "Hi, you've reached the OP's last name, please leave a message," to, "If you received a call from us and don't recognize our number, it is a scam. Please report this to local police," as we have reported it to our police, and nothing has changed. Scammers are taking us all, and nothing will change if we ignore the calls. Yes, it was that bad. We were receiving 10 plus voicemails per day, most threatening, "Stop effing calling, go FA, insert racial slur animal here, I'm calling the police," etc. We turned off our ringer, disconnected our phones so only our fax machine, printer picked up and hoped for the best to no avail, thus I started the IDWHL approach. I had a few calls that I picked up during this time frame, and the IDWHL calls were surprisingly wholesome. A typical call transcript, paraphrased, of course, is below. Phone rings. Me, hello? Caller, stop effing calling me. Me, hey, I know this isn't what you expect, but I think you have been had by scam calls. They are spoofing my number to call you, and I've reported it to my local police. I made the mistake of answering and trying to give them a hard time, so now they spoof my number to call others and punish me. You can Google it and verify my story, just don't answer their calls no matter what you do. Please also call your local police and report my number and the calls so we can get these calls to stop. My name is OP's first name and I live in town, state. I am just as sick of these calls as you are. Please report my number to your police. Maybe then there will be some legislature or pressure on the phone companies to stop this nonsense. Caller, oh, hey, sorry, I just get so many of these calls and I'm frustrated beyond belief. Sorry to bother you. Except for Karen's, but the rest of the conversation on my part remained the same. Me, seriously, report my number to the police and block it, we have no prior business, and let your phone company know as well. I am with phone provider and the only way they will make changes is if we all complain enough so they have to deal with it. I am happy to speak with local police about the issue, and just for the record I do not want any information from you. Let's deal with this crap guerrilla style. Conversations from that point typically ended with apologies and mutual understanding or promises to call the police and report my number, to which I always reiterated, please do, this is how we make the world a better place, or some similar sentiment. Maybe not the most extreme IDWHL, but I hope you enjoyed the read. I am happy to answer questions and will provide any insight or clarification requested. Edit, let me address some of the common questions or comments that I've received. This is my landline, and changing the number only shuffles my spam calls to someone else, and someone else's spam to me. The phone company puts a shiny, complaint resolved sticker on their books, and nothing actually changes. Also, have you ever changed your phone number? How many people have your current number? It's a royal pain and not worth my effort. I'd rather spend the same amount of time talking to other victims of this crap and maybe they will talk to others. Eventually something might change because the people took action. Why didn't I report it to the phone company? I did, and they basically told me, we get this complaint a lot, there isn't anything we can do about it aside from changing your number. See point 1 for why I'm not doing that. We were also getting a lot of hateful voicemails, even with my updated answering machine message, so I thought the police should be involved since it could be considered harassment. Spam filtering is enabled through the phone company, and as a landline my phone isn't running Android or iOS, so the smartphone tricks don't work. I definitely think these are great tools. Unfortunately, blocking all numbers not in your contacts can have adverse effects. The doctor's office calling to verify your appointment using a secondary line at their office, automated calls from your work, school regarding inclement weather closings, family or friends calling from an unfamiliar number, and so on. For anyone with a landline experiencing this same thing, unplugging your answering machine and setting a fax machine. Most multifunction printers nowadays have fax machines built in. To pick up on the second ring seems to stop the calls. I did this for 3 months, and when I plugged my answering machine back in, my inbound call volume was way down, from 10 to 30 calls per day to maybe 1 to 2. The next one is titled, "But You're Working Here." Alright. Bit of a backstory. I worked for my friend in my 20s. Job was kind of nearby. We built display furniture, exercise equipment, bicycles, whatever they wanted really, for a large box store. I will omit the name, but I will give you a few hints. We weren't employees of the company. We were subcontractors. So, we would have to sign into the visitor book and take a visitor badge. A big blue name tag that looks similar to the employee's name tag, but it clearly says visitor. I understand the frustration people have. Finally, they find someone working here and are met with, "Sorry, I don't work here. I am just building these 200 bicycles." One day, I will never forget it. The store manager tells us, as they're receiving a truck in the back room, that instead of building the bikes in the back like we usually do, we need to build them on the sales floor. Ugh. Fine. Whatever. We wheel the bikes down to the aisle that they have set up for us. They rope it off, so people aren't supposed to enter, they do anyway, and we build some junk. Usually, I'm met with pleasant people who understand I'm a contractor and don't actually work for the store. Until a woman taps me on the shoulder. I grumble because I know where this is going. "See cow, can you tell me how much this is?" Me, "Sorry, I don't work here." Manatee, "Yes you do. You're working here. Tell me how much this is." Me, "I am just building the bikes here, I don't actually work for this company." Karen, "I want to speak to your manager. I don't know why you aren't helping me. I want to know how much this yarn is." Me, "Look. I am living and I am here, but I don't live here. I am working and I am here, but I don't work here." Karen stomps off and comes back with the manager that put us out on the sales floor. Manager, "These guys don't work here. They just build the bikes for the store." Karen stomps off. Defeated. The next one is titled, "I was followed into the men's room." Quick background, I'm 6 feet -3 inches and I'm often asked to get things off the top shelf in stores, which I'm more than happy to help, usually. Christmas 2018, I was walking through one of the last anchor stores that are common in malls, at least here in the upper Midwest US. As I turn to go down the hallway to the toilet, I hear a, "Sir. Sir." Normally, I would have at least engaged the person and tried to help out, but this was a bit of an emergency. Well, as the title suggests, she followed me into the men's room, and, as I'm going into the stall, she yelled at me wondering why I wasn't acknowledging her. She needed help. Now. She told me she needed me to get less than insert product here greater than. Not relevant, and I wasn't paying attention, anyway, from the top shelf. I pointed out that I didn't work there. She said she knows that. But I'm tall and she's in a hurry and there are no staff nearby. I told her, I'm in a bit of a hurry too. Look where you are. It didn't faze her in the least, and how rude of me for not helping her. She actually expected me to follow her back out before I did my business. I just closed and locked the stall door and proceeded as planned. If she's not embarrassed by it, why should I be? She stood there for another full minute before I got a $$, as she stormed out the door. I had a smartphone and nowhere to be. So even though I didn't need to, I spent the next 20 minutes in there. I couldn't decide whether to be happy or disappointed that she was gone when I got out. The next one is titled, "I'm sorry, I'm not the male guy." A buddy of mine thought I should share this story, because it gave us a bit of a laugh. I also know that the one in the story isn't a woman and is not really entitled, but it still gives me a smile thinking back. I work in a factory near an auto parts shop, and on my way home I pass straight by a mechanic's shop. I'm really good friends with the guys there and even get to borrow a lift and their tools to do repairs myself on my car. Since I pass by their shop, they frequently ask if I can haul some parts for them after I get off work. I don't see an issue since I do pass by, and I mean, we are friends. This happened a few weeks ago. This particular day was one such day. They call me and ask if I can haul some parts for them. By some, they mean enough parts to rebuild an entire engine. Lucky me for having a big car. Anyway, I stroll up to the counter and say that I'm there for some parts for name of the boss. The guy behind the counter shuffles off to get all the parts. Lo and behold, I hear an older gentleman behind me. Let's call him Ken. Ken, excuse me, do you have my alternator with you? Me, I'm sorry? Ken, my alternator, I need it to get my tractor going. Me, I'm sorry, I don't have a tractor alternator on my list. Ken, are you sure? It was supposed to arrive today. Me, what? Ken, it was supposed to arrive with the mail today. So, are you sure you don't have it? Me, oh. You think that? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not the mail guy. Ken, you aren't? Then why are you getting parts for someone else? Me, I'm sorry for confusing you. I live close to a mechanic's shop, so I usually pick up parts for them. Ken, is that so? I'm sorry for assuming things. Me, no need. I should be sorry for confusing you. Ken, well, guess I have to wait. Me, you know, I actually was in the same class as someone who now drives the mail van. I can give him a call if you'd like. Ken, you'd do that? Me, yeah. It won't be a bother. I call him up. And yes, I was in the same class as him in school, we were buddies. He answers and goes on a little journey in time for a few seconds, recounting the last time I called him, which was a while ago. I asked him if it would trouble him to look at his list to see if there was an alternator on there for a tractor. He didn't have an issue taking a quick look. It was on the list and would get there before closing. I thank him and invite him for a drink sometime. He declined as usual and hung up. Me, alright, the alternator is on its way. It should get here before closing. Ken, thank you. And once again, I am sorry for assuming things. Me, it is alright, really. I loaded up my car and drove off. Sure, this is not really an edge of your seat kind of story, but it is quite a wholesome one. The next one is titled, I don't work at the shop, I just hang around there. So, a little backstory, I'm a nerdy 25-year-old who loves to modify keyboards. I've modified a few of my own keyboards and ended up getting some good results. I then hang out at a friend's place who owns a keyboard shop who commissions and repairs keyboards. They also allow mods for their keyboard if they bring their keyboards there. I'm good friends with the owner and I usually hang out in his shop to learn how to build a keyboard, from testing out the PCB to soldering the switches. Story, so, I was at the shop just hanging around there and the employees and manager offered to teach me how to solder switches, to which I'm bad at, and there I was just finished soldering around 10 switches. I'm pretty thin and weak, so I get tired easily. There I was, out to take a break from practicing on soldering the switches on the PCB, and there entered Karen. She had the haircut, the clothes, the nails, everything that a typical Karen would look like, and she had the attitude and walk to even confirm that she was definitely a Karen. Even though I don't work for the keyboard shop, she started snapping her fingers at me and started to call me and grab my attention like a dog. I don't really work for the shop, but I headed up to the Karen anyways and asked her for anything, since the manager was actually at the bathroom taking a small break. Me, can I help you, ma'am? Karen, brings out an old, dirty mechanical keyboard, I want you to fix this. Can you do it? Now, I may look like an adult and might be interested in working in that shop, but I'm still a college student and I just didn't really work there, sadly, and I tried to explain to the Karen that I wasn't really an employee there. Me, I am sorry, but I don't really work here. Karen, I know you work here. I have seen you do stuff here every time I pass this shop. Now, I hang around the shop a lot. Mostly because the keyboards are really well made, and I was just a keyboard enthusiast. And looking at the keyboard she handed to me, it was a whole mess. It felt sticky, it had hairs between the switches and the plate, the switches are stuck when pressed, the keycaps legends are faded, dirt and dust were piled under the keycaps and everything else was just a whole mess. To be quite honest, the keyboard looked like it's been used for key smashing purposes than typing or gaming. I wasn't really interested on fixing someone's keyboard and I didn't know how to fix it, to be quite frank. I tried to explain to the Karen that I wasn't really an employee of the shop and I'll go ask someone to get the keyboard, but she wasn't having it. Karen, if you don't fix this keyboard right this moment, I will have you fired. I know the owner here and I'll make sure that happens. Me, but ma'am, I really don't. As I was about to say I really don't work here, manager arrived. He tried to ask what was happening and he was quite concerned that the situation was escalating. What seems to be the problem? Karen, this employee of yours isn't doing his damn job. Fire this man. In my mind, I was like, really lady, or is she really serious about this, and somewhere along those lines. Now, the owner-manager is pretty calm and patient but also has a way of dealing with entitled people. Karen, get me the manager. Here's my ID. Shoved the ID in my face. I'll have you all know that I'm the owner's wife and I'll get you all fired. He shoved that ID in my face and turned it to the owner-manager. Now, here's something I know that Karen didn't know. The owner is actually a widower. His wife died over a decade ago, but that's a different topic. He knew that what she was saying was utter BS and me and the owner-manager got tired. Owner-manager smiled and spoke. Well, happy to meet you, Karen, I'm the owner and manager of the store. Now, he smiled, but the smile was so sadistic-like. He has a scary smile. One that might scare cats and dogs. It's like he was a predator, T-Rex or something. Karen went white. I think she just went from full entitlement to full on I just p************* D on my pants, scared when she realized that she was talking to the owner. Now ma'am, I understand that you're upset with this man, but he's not a part of our staff. He's just someone who comes here and learns from us since he's here to learn what we do. Karen, I didn't KOM. Furthermore, you claim to be a wife of mine, but my real wife died over 10 years ago. Karen's jaw dropped. She now realized that she ed up and tries to apologize, but the owner-manager has grown tired of these Karens and decided to take drastic measures. Since you're not happy with me or this shop, then I would like you to leave this store and never come back. Ever. Music to my ears. I handed back her keyboard and stormed off. Owner-manager picked up a phone and called a few numbers. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I heard the words ban and Karen. The next day, I was on my way to the shop only to find the Karen from yesterday was actually banned and tried to force herself back only to get grabbed by employee staff and dragged her out of the store. Edit, sadly, the place where my friend owns the keyboard shop has shut their doors when COVID started. They had to shut down their business due to lockdown and ended up bankruptcy. He now does commissions if I recall, but I heard he changed cities and sold his phone to get back to his province. I heard he only do commissions through requests in his province, but I no longer has any contact numbers nor anything for me to contact him. Thank you very much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support Reading Bear.